We are at the Storytelling for Changemakers workshop, brought to you by the lovely folks at IMPACT.EDITION, and they're going to give you their own intros shortly. This is part of an org toolkit workshop series that we have at the Center for Social Change. And pre-pandemic, we all met in, and I'm going to pass the baton to Yulia, I think, who's going to take it away.
Yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. We are very excited to launch this, our first public workshop, and share today with you. We designed this workshop for creators, change makers who are looking for hands-on techniques, how to craft their stories in the most engaging, high impactful, appealing ways, and you know that naturally we are all drawn to the good stories, and the best version stay with us for a longer time. And today we are going to share some, some tips and insight that we learned from our own experience, and we hope that it could help you to build a stronger relationship with your donors, followers, to engage them, to educate them, and to, of course, to raise awareness about the issues, and the most important, to provide solution to all these issues. And we believe that the more meaningful and inspiring content we can share together, the more we can serve an impact. But before diving into that part, I would love to give you a brief introduction who we are and what we are trying to build here in Miami. So IMPACT.EDITION is a digital media hub about ordinary people doing extraordinary things. Our mission is to deliver more inspiring stories about local change makers, people who are trying to make a difference through their services, activities. We are a fiscal sponsor project of the Center for Social Change, and thank you so much for hosting this workshop. We are really glad to be part of your organization. And as you know, under IMPACT.EDITION umbrella, we have our community media digital magazine. You can find us on IMPACT.EDITION.org. We cover different topics like business for good, art for impact, social justice, climate change. We are trying to deliver more inspiring stories about change makers who are mainly underrepresented in the mainstream media. And this is very important because we see a huge, media gap in our news local landscape. That's why we believe that everyone needs tools and access to the platforms to share their voices. And another focus of our work, it's Content Plus agency. We provide marketing communication services for purpose-driven ventures. This year, we also launched webinars, workshop for young journalists who are just in the beginning of their journeys, and we're trying to educate them and to, to create value around this profession and how journalists could impact societies, individuals in a better way. And we are very passionate about arts, culture, and we believe that local creators, artists should be a very important part of this social business dialogue. And we drive outdoor creative campaign to promote social justice and environmental issues. And on this slide, you could see our upcoming project. This is the transit exhibition, I See the Change, and we're very excited about this project. We collaborate with amazing local photo artists, and one of these works you can see on this bus stop shelter. So we plan to cover several bus stop shelters in different neighborhoods in Miami, and every single post will be linked to the story that we already published on our website. So this is how we are trying to engage, locals through art, through media. So this project already supported by the Miami-Dade Cultural Affairs, and we need to raise some more funds since we want to cover really more bus stop shelters. So it's under development, and I hope we can launch it in the beginning of the next year. Why we decided to launch IMPACT.EDITION, and as I mentioned, that we found that there is a huge gap in this local news landscape. And what we are trying to build here one intellectual media space where we could bring very diverse group of audiences into this space. So we work with businesses, startups, academics, cultural organizations, of course with non-profits, and of course with foundation and impact investors who empower people of impact and who could provide, resources, right, to do something meaningful for sustainable and resilient communities. So yeah, IMPACT.EDITION is aimed to fill the gap in this landscape, and through our research and networking and of course storytelling, we are trying to articulate this sustainable, positive development among very diverse groups to strengthen our broader community's capacity for advocacy and resistance. We found that here, we see a lot of efforts, in different fields, but it's very important to know each other and to see how through collaboration, cross-functional collaboration, we could achieve even bigger results. So, and let's move to storytelling. On our website, you could find guideline that we developed with Samantha, guidelines to a good story and how we see a good story. Of course, it should be original, authentic content, something really exclusive about your social innovation and how you solve this problem in a very different way. And of course, you need to inspire and inform leaders of social change. And that's very important part because, we're not trying just to raise the issue and to raise awareness about the issue. Of course, it's important, but what's most important is to provide actionable information for every single individuals in our communities, how through baby steps, small step, we could achieve these bigger results together, right? And that's why through our story, we're trying to build these connections to every single reader, our audience, right? And another important thing that I want to mention briefly, before starting to work on every single article, we opened this beautiful and impactful global roadmap with 17 sustainable development goals. They have been developed by the United Nations. And this is how you could create the value around your nonprofit and to scale your impact. Because this agenda highlights very, very general, like really big issues, but it's very important how all these local change makers contribute into this global agenda through their local services, activities, and other stuff. So global reach, but local roots. This is important. I think this is what I wanted to mention in the beginning. The most important part that we always keep on our minds. And now,
as Yulia had mentioned, starting the story is so often the very difficult part. Even the most experienced get really caught up on like, how do we open this? And so we've kind of identified like 5 techniques that we use in our articles, and you can adapt to any type of content that you're creating, because your existing and potential donors, investors, sponsors, partners, volunteers, anybody who is going to support you, they're going to invest in your story. That's what's really going to draw people in. But you gotta, tell it the right way. There's some nuance there. So, but this is the way that you get people to care. It's what we learned through our experience. And so whether you're creating a flyer or applying for a grant, or introducing yourself at a networking event, because talking is still content. But another one of the most underrated places you can merge meaning and message is in your impact report. It's a document that everyone talks about and everybody needs. And it's also the one place you're likely to lose your audience the fastest. Because as soon as you see a large document riddled with charts and numbers and graphs, it just glosses over. You can lose them very quickly. You get overwhelmed and you close the document, but then you lose all of the amazing impact that's in that document. So right now we're just gonna focus on where you start. Okay, so our first tactic, and I do want to preface some of the language that we use in talking about these tactics is very reminiscent of creative writing, even fiction. And here's why. When you think of a story and you have a hero, you have other characters in the story, they're the people that you get attached to. You get to learn, you get to know them, you care about them, and you want to follow them along. So we use terms like narrator or protagonist or main character, just in that to kind of illustrate it better. But of course we are journalists, and nothing on our website, none of the stories we tell are fiction. But I wanted to preface that first. So this tactic is introducing your readers to a memorable main character. So you want to give them a distinctive voice. You want to show what matters to that character or that narrator right from the start. So the example that we're going to show you is from an article about a local change maker, Nadej Green. You may perhaps know of her. She worked for WLRN for years. She won an award from the Catalyst organization last year. And so this was the start of our story about her. Nadej Green is a born storyteller. She talks about the everyday things with the same wonder and passion that drives her activism. Her language is stories rooted in truth and meaning of what it is to be human. Her voice has a soothing intonation of strength, and you can hear the quiet intelligence that makes her reporting so impactful. She tells every story from a place of compassion, and she knows Miami inside out. So just in a small paragraph, you learn immediately what is important to her, what she's passionate about, what attributes and characteristics really differentiate her from somebody else. It's a way of getting to know her at the start. So if you were talking about a particular person involved in your organization or someone who's affected by your cause, you can, that's why we use the terms characters and narrators. It's how you get your reader or your audience to really connect with the person and the issue that you're talking about. So that's one way. The next one is starting with a memory. You can choose a scene that shows a dilemma or a choice that needs to be made, a powerful emotional experience that's going to have consequences for your main character, the person that you're talking about. So on this next example, so this was a really interesting story that Yulia wrote about some very innovative students. A year ago, several students from the University of Miami finished drinking water and couldn't figure out what to do with the empty plastic bottles. The dorm's recycling bins were full and looked exactly like the trash cans. No sorting, no recycling. The problem seemed obvious. We need to encourage recycling. What if instead of ending up with the messy bins or landfill or the ocean, the plastic bottle could go toward charity donations? Voila, the idea to develop cycle technology, a mobile application with instant rewards, is born. So this is a more narrative way to show what inspired somebody to create a new initiative or invent something. So this is a way that you can tell your origin story for why you do what you do. There's tons of ways you can use this technique to introduce, your main cause and what you're going to get into when you talk to your audience. This is another of our favorite tactics. It's starting with an ambiguous action. So this is what's going to reel your readers in. It allows for some mystery and some intrigue. It hooks the reader and it makes them want to know, okay, what's going on here? Like, what is this really about? So for the example that we use this one for, I'm not going to preface the story so you can really hear how this tactic works. In Madrid, it's 1 a.m. Angel meets new guests from Miami in his apartment. In Singapore, it's early morning, 6 a.m. Sabrina is staying home and doing the same. Flights are not canceled, not delayed. Everything happens on time. The passengers are coming. The size of the room doesn't matter. Everyone is welcomed. The strangers might be quiet and tired or talkative and ready to interact. This experience meets you as you are and where you are. Just take a ticket. It's long distance affair. So long distance affair is it's an innovative theater show. Sorry, not innovative, interactive theater show. And this was Juggernaut Theater Company's take on doing interactive theater during COVID. So it was a show that they did over Zoom with actors from all over the world who were all on at the same time. And you went from scene to scene interacting with the actors. So this was how we talked about the show and just kind of threw you right into the situation. And you kind of start to wonder, like, what are we talking about here? Like, what is this? And you just want to know more. So another tactic we can use is creating a purposeful prologue. It's giving more broad historical context and going where it might seem off topic, but it really is going to transition well into what your main topic. So if you're showing, you can show a scene or an event preceding the main narrative, and the consequences of that are going to ripple through the story. So for this story, this is an ex-Pixar executive who created a learning platform that we did a story about. And she said, "It was my lifelong passion to work at Pixar, which first guided me to discover the innovative online education company, X in a Box. Searching for storytelling classes online, I stumbled upon their course, Pixar in a Box, which is available free on Khan Academy. It was as if coming upon a treasure, a gift for all. X in a Box was founded by Elise Clayman and Tony DeRose, who are both former veterans of Pixar, along with Britt Cruz of Khan Academy. Gratefully, I had the opportunity to interview Elise and learn about her story." So it's giving you that historical context, taking you a little bit further back so that you can understand the impact that is going to have on the main topic. And this is our final tactic. Another one of our favorites is opening with the unexpected. Sometimes the most memorable stories, the opening just kind of surprises you, and it's another way of giving that intrigue and mystery that you just have to read more, you have to know more. So in this story, we've featured Katie Cleric, who is also a member of the Center for Social Change. And we really loved this initiative that she had been doing for a long time, volunteering at prisons to lead a creative writing workshop. And this story came out right after the start of the pandemic, where there was an era of trying to get our bearings and figure out, how we were going to adapt. So this story starts 2 months ago. Katie Cleric, journalist and founder of Exchange for Change, was in the classroom at least 3 days a week, teaching writing courses, supervising other instructors' classes, and meeting with student facilitators. Then the pandemic forced educators around the world to transition in virtual classrooms and navigate new technology for their online classes. But Katie and her team's work ground to a screeching halt. They teach in prisons where the internet is as invisible as COVID-19. So we wanted to introduce how challenging that her journey of adaptation to something that everyone was trying to adapt to, but she was facing a challenge that most of us didn't. And that was our way of kind of setting the scene and then coming in with the big, it's not a punchline, but the big challenge that our main character was faced with. And that was our last example. So I know we have some time and we would love to give you a writing assignment we can work on briefly. So I've listed here for quick reference the different tactics that we use. So if you want to take 10, 15 minutes and think about something, how you would talk about your organization, talk about an upcoming event that you might have, or a part of your work or your journey. Write a paragraph using one of the 5 tactics, and kind of see where it leads you, and we can share them if you're comfortable doing so. You have a piece that you're working on, or if we can help from an editorial perspective, please send us an email and we're happy to collaborate.